All right, we are live. Welcome into another live stream. It's probably been a few weeks since I've been able to life be life and sometimes. So don't always have time. Do you have time to run? Don't have time for the live stream always. Anyway, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad you're here. This is a safe space to talk all things running and even things that are not running related. It's just a safe space, generally speaking. So, like if you want to say that you're running, that you ran 5 miles at an 11:14 pace today, I want to hear about it. If you talk in metric instead of imperial, that's okay too. We accept without comment. And anyone and everyone, you have 6 treadmill miles on a work trip to Kenosha. Kenosha. That's in Wisconsin, guys. If you can tell from the accent, sometimes you can't with the accent. My wife does not like it when I do accents. Anyway, I want to hear. That's fascinating. I want to hear about it. What was the incline? Just please tell me. It's also a place where we honor PRs, and it's been a long time in the making. I ordered this little bell in a 2-pack because that's how they roll at many places, Costco, Amazon. You can't just get one. They got to sell you two so they can jack up the price. And my kids grabbed them, and I haven't been able to find them, but we were doing chores. And guess what surfaced from the debris? Was this little bell. So Jason Horner's in here. He says the ETA to the live stream restart. Jason, maybe 37 minutes. That's what Matt Beyer says. So I'm going to try to get all the PRs in those in before we have to naturally get kicked off the internet. Guys, I swear I'm squared up on the bills. Okay, I swear the internet's paid. But so let's get, without further ado, let's see if it works. It does. So if you have run a marathon and or a race of any sort and you PR'd in the last month and a half since I haven't had the dang bell, you could let me know and I'm going to ring that bell for you. So I know a lot of Stride and Shiners were out there in Chicago and in the last few weeks and have some races coming up. So I'm going to ring the bell for them if they're not in here. Matt Beyer says, let's go. Race week is upon us. Matt's got a half marathon. Can't think of anything else, I'm sure. Frank's in here. He, I believe, PR'd in Chicago. He says, I'm kind of thinking about a run. After a marathon, I try my best to wait 5 days. And then I just for a little shakeout Friday, maybe 1 hour Saturday, maybe 90 minutes Sunday, all easy, no speed in the first 2 weeks returning back after the marathon. But I get the itch, not the need for speed, but the need to run. Andrew says, hello from Saskatchewan. Going to listen to you on my final taper run before my race on Sunday. Let's go, Andrew. I almost want to ring the bell anytime. I'm just going to cheer. I heard a comedian one time go off of clapping, and I didn't think it was funny at the time, but then in retrospect, I'm like, it's very humorous. Like what happened inside the human body that was just like, I've got all this energy. Yeah. I'm just gonna put my hands together and start clapping. Um, Shamu Live says, I didn't see you at the Sugarland Half. Oh man, it's because I was out there in the front running so fast, no one could see me. I'm just kidding. I am going to ring a bell later for me on that, but that comes with its own tangent and segment because if you saw the video from which Stevie 76 captured some of the footage, I was passed by a guy named Caleb Neff, who's a professional athlete and a sponsored athlete from Ultra. And I didn't know that at the time, and then I later found out, and then I learned all about him. So we'll get into it because he's a funny guy. Jed Piazza says, ring that bell. Half marathon PR by over 4 minutes, 1:37:24 at the Mohawk Hudson Half. But I already knew that. And I already know that because I coached Jen Piazza, and she has got the New York Marathon coming up. So we're hoping to ring that bell again, not just for a best New York. She doesn't know this, but she's in PR shape. She could even PR New York, but I've just got to convince her to do it. Stevie76 says a non-net downhill PR bell. Yeah, I'm gonna ring it later for myself for sure because it's not a cheater course, which Austin International Half Marathon is. And I brought it up in my post race recap for the Austin International Half, and all the BPN boys. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give myself this credit because all the BPN boys are doing it too. And not one of them mentioned it. Matt Choi didn't mention it. He's not a BPN guy. Nobody was like, this doesn't count because I went downhill 300 feet. Nobody was like, but science, the science says, and by science, I mean Jack Daniels, because he's the gospel. He says about 15 seconds per 50 feet of elevation. That's 90 seconds. That's a minute and a half marathon net downhill. So, I mean, if it was flat, I still would have been faster that day than I was this day, but that's another story. I'm gonna ring this one later. All right. Jason Horner says over 9-minute PR in Chicago, LFG. I'm not going to translate LFG, but it's a family live stream. Congratulations, Jason, you absolute beast. Jason ran a 2:48:30. I know this because I also coached Jason, but interesting story on Jason. You're an inspiration, and I hope to be as fast as you in my marathon in Houston. His GPS time was a 2:45:48. So there was a lot of weaving because he started in the C corral, started in the back, so he had to get around. And I guess maybe everybody hogs the blue line because they're in on the secret. But super congratulations, Jason. Well deserved, well earned. I've been hearing it's hot in Chicago. That the back half was hot because it was over 60, and that makes me feel really good about Boston because I had a bunch of deniers in Boston. They're like, "What? I'm from Boston. That wasn't hot. It was like it's in the 60s. There was no cover. It was warm." I'm not trying to make this Chicago thing about me, but he said, as he made it about himself. But I just feel validated that that's officially we can say that that's warm, that that's hot because that's what I ran Boston in, and nobody was really talking about it because the previous Boston year was officially hot. So Matt Byer says, congrats, Jason. I was tracking you the whole race and kept pulling for you to get that sub 250. Yeah, I have so many little heads going every major marathon. I just like all my Strava friends and people, influencers, sub elite, just all kind of tracking them as I go and getting notifications and still trying to be present in my life. But I wish there was more coverage for those events, especially in the lead packs. JBS is in here. He says, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, as well to you, good sir. All right. JBS says, yes, I had a PB this weekend, 1:30:10, came 19th out of the old timers. All right, JBS. Old timers counts. Old timers count. Speaking of which, I'm going to ring it for my man, Chad. I don't see Chad in here. He is a fellow stride and shiner. He ran Chicago. He ran a 3:18. This is a PR, and this is also a PQ for him as he's 56 years young. Dude's got some wheels, and I hope to be as fast as he is when I'm that age. So, Chad, I'm going to ring that bell. Hopefully that's not blowing out the mic, so you're not just like running and just like, okay, can you not? Like when somebody's eating on the vlog and they're talking to you. I can't do it. Strangely, Kafuzi's Monday Mukbang is he's like the quietest eater. He's the only person that can eat, and like I'm okay with it. Matt is taking advantage of this safe space, and he says he ran 5 miles this morning in my final mini workout before the half Sunday, 3 times 1K at 6:44 average because his goal pace is 6:50. Pace today felt effortless and need to now maintain for 13.1. Pano says, PRs for everyone. Congrats, midlifers. As a midlifer on the internet who makes content about being a midlifer and has a channel called Midlife Runner and then became a certified coach, and then like who I attract to coach are mostly midlifers. And I don't know if just like marathon runners in general tend to be midlifers, but I've got a midlifers, and some of these midlifers be midlifing. This is okay. So I'm going to ring another one from my man, Dan Greco. Okay. Another stride and shiner. He ran a 3:39. This is over a 30-minute PR. He ran it in Chicago. I'm going to ring the bell for him. You got little tiny voices waking you up in the middle of the night. They need bottles, they need attention, they get fevers. You get fevers. This is the way it works. I got one guy, Dave. I'm going to ring it for Dave right now because he's on vacation, another stride and shiner, but I didn't ring it for him for St. George. He's got two sets of twins. He ran a 4:20 in St. George. His goal time was a 4:30, 10-minute PR. It was his first marathon. Awesome job. Awesome running, Dave. So I'm going to try to get some of those stride and shiners onto the channel. I'm going to create a podcast finally. It's a stride and shine. And it'll be about like running coaching. Maybe I'll put these live streams there. Then I'll also I'll have conversations with everyone and talk about their race experience, their work-life balance, the course, the training, all of those things. So it can be kind of helpful for anyone who may be also in a similar position. Because listen, if you have kids, you probably know this already, but like under the age of 5, you don't just the more you have, they don't double, they don't triple. It's exponential. You don't have 2, you have quads. You got 4. So and a lot of the guys that I coach have children that are all under the age of 5. That's why I marvel at Seth James Damore because he has 6 kids and they weren't all under 5, but that's like 36 kids. He's raising a school, a small private school of children. And that's really impressive. It's like hard to even sleep for 8 hours most nights with that many because, and then the older they get, you're just driving them around everywhere. But let alone train for a marathon. So it's pretty impressive from my end because I know how hard it is to sneak in those runs. Even getting up at 4:30, there comes a point where like, yeah, I woke up that early, but I only slept 5. There's no point. I'm not gonna. You have to sleep to get the benefits of running at a certain point. Coffee can only take you so far. Tried to hack my way into that field. So for all the free coffee, but there are limits. Jason Horner says, my GPS map in the first half of the race made me look like I was drunk. So much weaving between runners. Lesson learned. Apply for the fastest corral you can. Yes, Jason. Also, sometimes they have this other window of time where you can update if you've run a race, right? Or that you need to timestamp. You say, listen, maybe you applied for the lottery, but then you ran a 2:56 at CIM, but you had already been accepted for Chicago because that's around the same time. Then you can like go update and then you can to lobby to get to a corral A or corral that's a little bit forward. Frank says it was only a little warm past 10 a.m. maybe. Okay, well that's good to know. I'm gonna use that on somebody if they whine to me. Well, it was warm. It was a little warm out there. This is no longer a safe space. It was not warm. You are weak. Should have been better prepared. I don't want to hear your excuses. I'm disappointed in you. No. Just kidding. Yeah. Scott Stroll says that's a dinner bell. It is. I kind of just waiting for my butler to come in every time I ring it, but it is a bell nonetheless. And we're calling it a PR bell because that's what we can afford. If any of you are salivating, and I'm making any of you hungry every time I ring the bell, I do apologize. Yeah. So Frank says the Chicago start though is a lot faster than the Boston start. A little bit wider on the streets as well. I dropped one of the 2 bottles I had in 2022 in Chicago, and I went to go pick it up, and I almost got stampeded by everyone. There was because and then I did realize, like, Houston's the same way also, these, like, major marathons. Houston isn't a world major, but I mean, like, big marathons. There are people from the left side of the street pretty much all the way to the right, and I don't know if it's human nature, but they just kinda stay in the middle if you can, because you're like, "That way I'm prepared to go left or right." My hack is to have my wife text me where the next turn is going to be, and then so it'll say left, and then I'll look and see on my watch left, and then I can prepare to take a left, and that worked pretty well for Houston. I wanna say my total time was like or distance was 26.4. It was pretty close. It was pretty good. Jason ran 26.62. And another guy I coach ran 26.6. And so you're getting up there close to an extra half mile. It's a lot. So Shannon Sides has entered the chat. She says, yeah. I took an early lunch so I could chat with you all. Congrats, Andrew and Frank and Jason. Frank didn't give the bell officially. Frank, it's time to eat. Feast. Feast on that PR. Now I'm also going to give myself one for a non-cheater course half marathon at the Sugarland Half 123.06. All right, sweet GPS time, which nobody cares about, but it always makes me feel better. 122.13. My goal was a 122.30. Stevie 76 was there. It happened. Okay, I have an eyewitness. I put the video out, and I love YouTube. It has this A/B testing now. You could just make a bunch of thumbnails. I don't have time for that, but you could make a bunch of titles. So I just came up with a bunch of dumb titles, like I podiumed a half marathon because everyone was in Chicago, like all the fast runners from Chicago, and then like another one was I co-hawkered this race. I finally, because I know I just came up with these names, and I was like, I'm just gonna put this out here because you get it. You see me running, and it says Sugarland Half Marathon. You're gonna be like, this is gonna be about the Sugarland Half Marathon. So, what does the title matter anyway? And it's not like anyone's gonna be search engine optimizing. They're not. Nobody's gonna be like, I want to one day. I'm gonna run the Sugarland Half Marathon. I heard that's a banger. I've heard so much about this. Let me type it in and see what's up, and then it surfaces. But Steve, I didn't bring the GoPro. This was a whole mess. I just getting there. I forgot so much stuff. Just getting down there was a chore. But Stevie recorded, and the 2 clips he recorded me, one of them, this was at mile 10 going towards 11. Caleb Neff is a runner. He's a professional runner, actually. He passed me, like, while I'm screaming at Stevie something, like a quote from the movie. In the movie, I misquote that my character misquotes this line that it was in. I'm quoting Stevie 76. I'm terrible at telling this story, guys. Stevie 76 is holding a big head of one of the characters of a movie that I was in because I used to be a B actor, and I quoted that movie. And in the quote in the movie, like in the movie, the character says something like the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world he disappeared or something. And the other character in the movie says, you just misquoted the shit out of that right now. So my misquote was going to be the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world that pain didn't exist. And I scream. And while I'm acting like a complete jackass, Caleb Neff, the tall guy, all I know at the time is this tall guy passes me. And I didn't see the expression that he made when he passed me. It was like this guy, it was really funny. And then I saw him, and then I told Stevie, same it was like, I'm gonna go get that guy. He's like, yeah, go get that guy. And then I found out much later in talking to the guy who got second. He was like, yeah, I got passed by this guy who was going. And to be fair to Caleb Neff, he just entered like age group. He didn't enter the invitational. There was no money prizes. This wasn't a thing. And that guy was just pacing his wife for the first 4 or 5 miles, and then he took off and just started running 5:15s all the way through. So he passed me on a 5:15 pace, and then like towards the end, he was hitting fives and just winning. I mean, just hauling ass. And so I looked him up, and then someone told me. Yeah, I think it was like even Kafuzi commented on the thing. We said that he paced Kiara D'Amato to her American world record, and then Shannon Sides knew who he was, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is a guy. And then I talked to my neighbor Aaron Davis, and they had he would do a podcast with Ryan Miller, and they're in the ultra space, and so Caleb Neff has like some like Guinness World Records pushing a kid in a stroller, and it's like an ultra guy sponsored by Ultra. So I thought it was really cool. I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, by the way, you're in this thing. Whatever. You're in this video. By the way, I'm the jackass you passed on whatever." And so then he commented on Strava something like Ghost Rider requesting permission for a flyby, which I thought was a good sport. And maybe I'll try to have him on the channel at a certain point. So I don't think that was a PR for him. He ran a 120 in his sleep. He was just there. And the weather for that race, I was very worried that it was going to be hot, but it's weird. It kind of goes, it's been lately, it's been nice in the morning because it's been like high 60s, and then the sun comes up and then it just shoots to the high 70s right away. So I knew that I had about 5 or 6 miles where it would be like in the 60s. And I went full Choi. I went no shirt. So first time trying to put the bib on the shorts. Thank you, Stevie76, for surprising me there. You shot me at a crucial moment because I was about ready to tap. I was like, after I chase these two guys, no one's gonna know. No one's gonna know if I just ease up a bit, So, and I didn't know how many people were in front of me at the time for my age group or for the thing. It's weird when you apply. Now, a lot of these half marathons have or invitational sections. So I did like Austin International Half had like 50 guys, and I don't think Floberg was a part of that, but he could have been because he was fast enough to do it. So they can ride out the guys who won, like the guys who running 106, 107. They all go into their own category, so they don't take your age group away. And it's like maybe there's a prize, maybe there's not. And I don't remember there being an invitational portion of the Sugarland Half, but I guess there was, where I had to submit my time. So I got put into that category. And it's like, but everybody's in Chicago right now. So like all the fast people. So I think this is the third year that it's in existence. And it's kind of like the Woodlands. It's a flat course. And I was worried that I was going to get lost. So I wrote down all of the directions, but I did not get lost. There are cones everywhere. So that's good. Matt Byers says they are currently expecting some rain and some wind, 20 plus miles per hour, but still going for the goal of sub 90. Hopefully, the wind won't be as bad as we will be in downtown Columbus. Well, you're already in Ohio, so how much worse can it get? But it's not a safe space, man. I'm sorry. I'm sure Ohio is fantastic. It's a wonderful state. Just gets a bad reputation. I hope the wind is at your back the entire time. Alrighty. Stevie76 says kids, zone defense. You got to, because when there's so many of them, I heard maybe it was a comedian who said it. It's like when you get like the fifth one, and it just kind of sort of slips away and then falls into the pool. It's like guardian angels with that one, because I really can only got so many hands, so it's a lot. And then I remember preparing for the Buffalo Marathon, and I always like sometimes I've had a few non-stress related I can't think right now, but like the lead up to the race, sometimes they've been not stressful. I get on a plane, I go and whatever. But like this for Buffalo, like everyone, because you can't just put like, hey, here's like 7 kids, here's 3 kids, and you want to watch these. It's kind of like here's one, this one goes here, this one goes with Tia Alex, this one goes to this, this one goes to Wayla's, this one goes over here, and you drop all the kids off wherever. But they, like, all called out on me. They were just like, "Hey, I forgot, but, like, this weekend's not good because I got this other thing going." And I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. We leave in 2 days. I gotta just start dropping these kids off somewhere, you know?" So, it all worked out except for the race, which I ran as Forrest Gump. That did not work out very well for me, but, um, yeah. Oh, and there Shannon says, yeah, in case others didn't know, Cal Neff, who blew us past Andrew in Sugarland vlog, paced Kiara D'Amato to the AR in the marathon at Houston. Yeah, this is a Pavlov bell. Yeah, like Pavlov's dogs. So makes you hungry. Frank says, I memorized the first 6 turns. That's smart. Houston has a lot of like little turns, and I memorized the first 6 or 7, but then I really relied on my wife to guide me there too, which I think is really funny. If she I thought about this in Marine Corps, is if she miscalculates where I am on the course and tells me the wrong one every time, then I will run the worst tangents on the accident. I'll run like 27 miles. Andrew Cho says, congrats on the PR, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew, my fellow Andrew in arms. So Shamu Life says, what are your thoughts on a trail marathon? I don't have any thoughts about it because I don't run trails. I mentioned it. I still have the shoe here. I think this is a trail shoe from Mount to Coast. They sent it to me, but I appreciate them. They're very nice people, but I I don't there's another trail shoe too, maybe I'm like, guys, you're motivating me to go find a trail, but I have to drive quite a distance to get to the trail, and I try to stick around close to the house just to squeeze the run in. So I'm not opposed to trails. I just don't run very many of them. And I wouldn't know how to identify the appropriate effort for the trail. I mean, I would have to, I guess, do some recon on the course to see all the elevation. So Chad's in here, 4-minute PR at Chicago. Great crowd support. Eat up. Beast on that PR, Chad. Only getting faster. Only getting faster. Yeah, Chicago is a great time. The crowds are great. I'm going to say Boston is not a competition. A little bit better crowd support in Boston. It was so um, inspiring in Boston that when I was done, I came back because Martha was still running and Aubrey was still running. And I know like our hotel where we were staying was like mile 22 or 24 or something. So 22. So we went back and then I hopped in the crowd. I started cheering people on and it was so fun. It was a great time. I see why people just post up and party all day in Boston for that. So Shannon says it's Caleb. Did I call him something different? Did I say Caleb? Did I call him something different? Um, yeah, that would be my bad. Sounds like something I would do. It's a classic. Someone says their name is Tim, I call him Tom. And I don't it's like an association thing, like a word jumble. And it's like if you say your address is like 2246, I'll say 4622 when I try to remember it. It does my brain is a little dyslexic, maybe. All right. Lawrence Ha says, your video on why we slow down on races is spot on. I have to let my ego go and run within my fitness. I didn't bonk in Chicago, but I slowed down quite a bit during the last 10K. Awesome, Lawrence. Not just because you agreed with me, but congrats on Chicago. I'm glad it wasn't a significant um, bonk or anything. So, well, that's what I'm implying with the not quite a slowed down quite a bit. But yeah, so for the video that I made, I just said basically, I think the main reason a lot of people slow down They attribute it to carbs, and it could be the carbs. They attribute it to hydration, and it could be the hydration, but really they're running a pace that's just beyond their fitness because they've given themselves the best case scenario. And usually there's something that's kind of off. It's not the perfect weather, or, maybe you're not quite in the shape you thought you were. So, anyway, um, Chris Minto's in here. What's up, Chris? He says, "Yo, homie, race week loading." All right, Chris, what are you racing this week? My fellow midlifer, getting ready to attack it. I love it. JBS says, "Love that story. It made me chuckle watching your film." If you're referring to the movie that Supernatural Activity, I wouldn't use the word film for that. When the film seems so cinematic. There's nothing serious about that movie, and really, I made a bunch of parody movies. I directed a horror movie with Gary Busey when I got out of film school. I didn't have much of a choice in the matter. It's like you don't get to pick. It's kind of like, you want some work? Yeah, I'll take some work. Let's go. Let's do this. And I think the problem with that horror movie was I tried to make it like, oh, I want to do The Shining. I want to make a real horror movie. And it's like, it's got Gary Busey in it. I should probably just make it intentionally really bad. And that was going the wrong way on that one. But then I made some parodies, and I loved the Naked Gun series growing up. And Leslie Nielsen really made those movies, which is why I haven't seen the remake. Um, I'm sure I'll see it eventually. I have to just get over it. Same thing I said last live stream with Project Hail Mary coming out, is the casting for the movie just doesn't strike. So I just kind of have to be like, cool, I'm gonna go watch a different movie. It's the same movie, but it's a little bit different. I just don't think Ryan Gosling is very funny. And I don't want to spend the whole time thinking this should have been Paul Rudd. I just want to enjoy the movie, because when I pay for a movie, I want it to be good. I'm not like a critic. I'm the easiest person to appease when it comes to movies, because I want to like it. So I'm very forgiving for it. Andrew Cho says Chicago was amazing. I think the post-race blues is real though. Looking for a race to sign up in the spring. Yeah, post-race blues. I had that after Houston. It was so epic. And then I went right back to work. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You ran a marathon, no cares. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And then this guy Kafuzi filmed me like coming down the stretch. And you gotta understand, like, I used to listen to his live stream for like a couple years. They were like, whatever, no one cares. PR, I almost broke 3. They're like, it doesn't mean anything. 4, 5, 6, 7. You ran a marathon. Okay, rub it in. I don't care. Whatever. Yeah. So, but I think that it's because we have this like purpose. Like, I watched some videos on it, post race blues, and then your purpose is done for now, right? You're like, oh, okay, cool. This kind of was my North Star for a while. Now it's done. Okay, cool. Now, yeah, maybe you sign up for something down the road. I would say much further down the road. Spring is good. That gives you some time to figure it out. Frank says it's hard to figure out where you are when there are multiple races on the course. Yeah, I will say sometimes those courses, that's what happened in Sugarland Half. The courses merge, and the 10K loop back around with the half marathon for the last 5K. And but it's not a big race. So in like the Woodlands also, they keep one lane of the road open, and they have the cops out there like directing traffic whenever there's a gap in the crowd flow. And so it's like one lane. It's really condensed. And then you got people just cruising, got the strollers just out there getting their 10K. And that's great, but I'm just like weaving, trying to figure it out. So all right. Frank says post race blues are completely real. They haven't gotten me so far this time, but the big thing is not to give up running. It's too easy to quit for like 6 months, and then it'll be really hard to start. That virus says, not ashamed being from Ohio. The Buckeyes keep whooping up on the Longhorns. Yeah, get in line, Matt. Oh, I'm surprised UT beat OU this last that was a surprise. I was just waiting for a absolute 66-3 wallop that used to happen occasionally when Bob Stoops was there. Just absolutely get destroyed in a rebuild. And I'm not looking forward to that A&M game either because my friends growing up were all Aggies and they're looking really good. So it's gonna be pretty ugly, I think. We'll see. Poor Arch Manning. He's just a freshman. You gotta give him some time. Like there's very few Johnny Manziels or Vince Youngs where they just come in and then the play collapses and they're athletic. So then they just make something happen and they win every game and you can't tackle them. And they're just like, they're faster than everyone in college. And then they have to go try to do it in the pros. And Arch Manning's not built like that. So he is built the same. Chris Mitchell says Atlantic City. Well, best of luck, Chris, on your race this weekend. Philip Watt says, just tuned in, getting ready to run 800-meter repeats. That's awesome, Philip. What's the rest look like for that? You doing 1-to-1? You doing some yasos? You're going to cut that rest down to just like 2 minutes and suffer so you can't breathe? Jason Horner says 6, 7. My kids now, the older ones, they're at the age where they're like, oh, dad, stop. And the younger one laughs and goes, 6, 7. It's pretty funny. So, but I have a quota to fulfill as a dad. And I tried to, and when they used to watch the show Naruto, and my wife would watch that stuff with them, and I've just never really been into anime, and I would just make fun of the way they would say, Sasuke, no. They would just say the character's name, and then they would say no. And it was the same with Pokemon and all that. So, and then I would say like, guys, go brush your teeth, and don't forget to floss, gay. And they'd be like, oh, and they would laugh. You used to laugh. And then they started thinking it was dumb. I was like, look, this is dad humor and you're going to get it. So don't have to like it. Andrew Cho says, yeah, no one cares at work. They were asking what sub 3 is. LOL. Yeah, they don't. Nobody. I mean, I think the general, just like the normies are like, Boston is a pretty significant race. Then you got to be really fast to get in there. But they don't know any paces or like you say, oh yeah, my uncle or my brother-in-law ran a marathon. Oh, what did he run? Oh, I don't know. Like he just ran one. He read a book on train and it was so he trained for it and everything. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Not always so dialed. Right. JBS says, gotta go well. Much love from the UK. Have a great weekend of running and recovery. Thanks for popping in, JBS, from across the pond, from the future, all the way to the past. All right. Tegaruva says, yo, Andrew, made that live stream for once, tapering for the Marine Corps Marathon again. Crossing my fingers that they execute the race amidst the shutdown like the Army 10-miler did. Yeah, I've got my man Nick running the Marine Corps marathon this year, also fellow Stride and Shiner. And so I've been keeping up to date with with the possibility of the race not being a no-go, but because they did the Army 10 miler, I am also optimistic that the Marine Corps Marathon will still be on. It's the 50th anniversary. So I would hope that they would find a way. It's the exception, to make sure that it still happens. It's such an awesome race. And I have two runners. I got the Detroit Free Press Marathon is this weekend. We have the Des Moines a marathon as well. I'm not sure if anyone's running Des Moines. Got a couple runners running those races. Des Moines, Iowa, Blockbuster Video. All right. Jason says people at work ask how the marathon was. You tell them the time and it means nothing. Then you tell them your per mile pace and they spit out their coffee. Yeah, I think that's a little more relevant. I think people can I remember on Instagram I posted like in 2020 when I first picked up running, I had the Nike Run Club app because it's a rite of passage for any new runner. You have to have the app. I didn't have a watch. I actually didn't have a watch. It's grandfather's watch. I didn't have a watch. I got one off Facebook Marketplace for like $50, but it's an old Garmin. But the Nike Run Club, the GPS was always off a little bit, so I don't know if it was right. So I remember getting the Garmin and being like, "My Garmin's off. I'm running." It says I'm slower than I am, and that can't be. It says a quarter mile is from here to over there. When clearly my Nike Run Club, which is using these satellites, has to be more accurate. Anyway, I posted on Instagram. I ran like a 22:33. I think that was my starting 5K time when I started running. And I got down one time to 21:15 and I posted the splits. And some guy that I know was like, "You ran under 7 minutes a mile?" Like it that so like he was it was still I think he was like young 30s, late 20s. So he was still relatively out because some people you tell the time they're like, I don't even know what I could run. It's really mind blowing for my middle child. So Miles, we're gonna give him a PR bell. 2 mile 1450 cross country. So 725 a pop. Sorry. But it took me that long to give you the PR bell, Miles. But if it makes you feel any better, I did not give one for Connor Manson. He set the American record. So we'll give one to Connor. We give, but only after my son. My son. Anyway. Yeah, people at work don't they don't really know, but they've got like their own thing. So I usually am aware, like this live stream is my live stream. It's and I open it up to talk all things running, and then you tell me what you run. We talk running shoes. It makes sense. But if I'm not careful and I start talking like this in the real world, people are like, "What?" Like it doesn't compute. They're like, "I didn't ask all that. I don't really want to know." My team usually would know in any coffee shop that I would be in. They're like, "Andrew, we got a runner in the lobby, like this." And then I would go and we'd start talking. They're like, "Okay, cool. Let's just like connect the runners." I understand that. If you're a runner, boom. And that's usually fitness niches. It's the same thing, CrossFit. There's like jokes. It's about like how if you're in CrossFit, you're going to let everyone know that you do CrossFit. I'm sure it's the same with High Rocks. I'm sure High Rocks is the same thing. If you get High Rocks people together, they're just probably like buzzing about all things High Rocks is, you know. Anyway, I guess we could also ask shoe talk because that was going to be my next thing is what are you wearing for your race, Chris Minto? What did you wear for your race if you PR'd your race? Stevie76 comes in with the timely, did I miss what shoe you wore in Sugarland? It was the Fastor Nitro Elite V3. And my toes today, my feet, it's like the first day that they're not sore. And I can't believe I thought I was like, how did I run Boston in these? That was pretty bold to do that. Frank, fast R3s, how were they for you? Obviously good because, I mean, fast for you because you ran well. How are your legs? How are the feet holding up after 26? Um, I don't know if I'm going to take them for Houston. Mine have 89 miles in them. They still feel really good. I think it's a great shoe. It's still the best shoe. But Mizuno, I saw the doctors of running come up with a Mizuno. The Mizuno has three shoes. One of them is super light 5K, 10K. One of them super light, maybe half marathon, kind of the elite, I think it's called. And then they have the Pro, which is a more standard classic 7.6 ounce type of shoe. They're saying it's like the updated Pro Low or something like that, which I love the Pro Low. So I can get behind all of that. Those shoes come out in December. TRE is also in December. It's in San Antonio, and I'm going to try to get in. But I realized that it costs a lot of money, and so I applied for a press pass. I don't think I'm going to get in. You need to have like a following. I don't think 9,000 subscribers or close to that on YouTube is going to qualify me to get in. But I reached out to the Mizuno people, and I'm hoping to cover those shoes. And I'm going to go in there and try to just talk to everyone and see what's going on. I've never been. I never went up to Austin to do it, so I don't know how welcoming or standoffish it is, or if it's like, and you can get the same information from Alex Felitti and Meta Endurance or some other channels. They do it really well, so I'll probably be a little bit more laid back with it, but I definitely want to present the information of what's coming on. And if I get my hands on the shoes, I don't know how many they concede to their runners, or they can give out before. But if they can, I would love to run the SATX half that weekend or the Houston Marathon in one of those versus the Fast V3, because I feel like I've reached the point where Kafuzi's like, that story's been told before in Chicago or whatever it is. Like, I feel like I've run a great half in the Prolo. I've run a great half in the Fast R3. I've run a marathon in the Fast R3. I want to try other shoes at those distances. Like, I wouldn't mind taking the Ray or some other shoe and seeing if it, because the shoes definitely make a little difference, but they're not going to make up for lack of fitness. So it's mostly the training and just, can I live with this particular shoe? Somebody asked me about the Hoka Cielo X1 2.0, and because I've been loving that shoe, and I thought I would run a marathon in this, but it really feels more like the Adios Pro 3 in that it's a great long run shoe with marathon pace mileage in it. It's great for training, but I don't necessarily think it's aggressive enough. If I was going to go for a very fast time, which I think I'm going to do for Houston, I don't know what, I want a faster shoe. So we'll see. And I'm not trying to do the same thing Floberg did with like no time, but I want to run somewhere. I have goals. We got goals like 250, 245, 240, somewhere in there. But I'm just going to get as fit as possible and then see where I'm at and see if I can get close to any of those. Since I've been training for a half, I feel I was more in half shape. I don't think if I ran a full, I'd probably be just above 250 if I would have run Chicago this past weekend, because I wasn't really in marathon shape. Andrew Cho says, I wore the Metaspeed Tokyo Sky, the Sky Tokyo in Chicago. How was that, Andrew? Matt Byer's going to roll Vaporfly 4 gridiron colorway for his half. I know that I'm going to be able to pick one of those up for like $90 on the Supple app one day. So I'm holding off. I'm trying not to buy any shoes until January. We'll see. Because big news, guys. I don't know. You didn't ask for this. Too much information. I don't know if I'll have a job in November. So my franchise owner he's closing down the coffee shops. And I'm like, well, that's what I came here to do. And he's got a lot of other businesses. So you might see me with a drill I'll grow out a mustache and I'll just I don't know. I don't so who knows? And because of that, I'm also trying to snowball the coaching business a little bit by bringing more awareness to it. Because I haven't in this last year that I've been coaching it, I haven't done a ton of stuff around it. And I know I mentioned it recently, and someone hit the comments and they said, "Oh, everybody's a coach now." I'm like, yeah, yeah. He's a subscriber. He's a nice guy, but he was saying that. I was like, I'm a certified coach, and I don't think I could do better signaling that. And I'm not sure if the older people are certified coaches. Now, some people don't really care if you're certified or not, if you don't, you whatever. Um, and then I also want to get on and tell the stories of the runners who are doing and running, getting faster and becoming successful, because I think that's like the next chapter in the stride and shine story. It's like, oh, okay, this guy even here, he was a runner, and then became a coach, or whatever. But that's like, hey, the coaching actually works versus some guy, because I know that it's going around. It's the next evolution, the next progress. Turns out he loves coaching. Frank says, I didn't notice the shoes at all, which I think is a good sign. I was looking. I was looking. I saw a guy in some Evo Pro ones. I was like, man, they were big. They weren't my size. And I was like, if that was the first run, he maybe has one more run in them. Oh, yeah. Okay, I was like, "What? J-Lo still wouldn't be impressed." That's right. Sidious Shannon says Sidious interviewed her, J-Lo, maybe a week ago, and she says she ran 4:49 mile in high school. My wife randomly asked me if I watched The Cell. She, "Oh, did you ever see The Cell?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just remember thinking it was mid at best. 6 out of 10, slightly better than mid." And I only watched it because I had a crush on J-Lo. And then I did marry a Mexican woman. So Jeb Piazza says, I ran my half in the Fast R3s and I loved them. I didn't have any lingering issues or extra soreness beyond what I expected. I definitely plan to wear them for the New York City Marathon. It's because Jen Piazza does the strength work. She's got hardened calves. Chad's in here with another Metaspeed Sky Tokyo. This was my first marathon that my feet had no issues. That's awesome. I identify as an edge guy, but everyone tells me the edge is not as good as the sky. And now with these different foams, that may be the case, but that's another one I'm going to get for 150 on the Sapwell app. I just have a really good feeling about that. I need to call Joanna and tell him, hey, man, something's wrong with the app. Nobody is posting the Endorphin Elite V2s in size 9 since I got on there. There's a glitch, something. We got to fix that bug because someone needs to post those 9s for me. Andrew says he was surprised to see a lot of Metaspeed Ray. CV76 says, my love don't cost a thing, but my running does. It costs all the things. Yeah, Stevie76 with the timely, always with the joke. I was actually watching the video that I posted to make sure that the audio, like you're just doing checks. It's already late because I'm about to post it. And I was like, oh, I should have said that. It was a joke. I bet Stevie would have made that joke right there because he's funny. Andrew Cho says, Fast R3 is comparable to the Saucony Endorphin Elite V1. Not at all. They're very, very, very different. The Endorphin Elites, they're very firm and they have like a dual bounce, but I feel like those things roll and snap me along, and they're bouncy enough that they just lock me into a pace the way the other Saucony shoe did, the Pro 3. And so later into a race, like it's pushing me along. With the Fast R3, it's super lightweight and it's still springy and bouncy. It is a cheat code. And I think the Deviate Nitro Elite version 3 is the first light shoe, the F1 racer, like base model, the Treyu base model, the Puma base model of the TPEE. The shoe is super light, but you get it gives. What does it give? Assistance. It gives cheat is what it gives. Because the lighter a shoe is, like Reebok used to have a really light shoe, I think I owned. It was too small, but you could get really light shoes, but there's not a lot of material in the shoe, and therefore they don't usually give you a whole lot back. The Meta Speed Edge Paris gave me a whole lot back, and that foam and that one that's in the Puma as well, and then now Mizuno's using a nitrogen infused TPE foam, but it's like when you tap down, it gives you a lot of energy return really quick. So I think some of those shoes are really fast. They're faster than sort of marathon pace type of shoes. So, but the Deviate Nitro Elite version 3, I think I could go marathon or speed day, whereas the Fast R3, I'm like more speed day to half, could do the full. But Matt Byer says David Salas of Doctors of Running released a video of the new Mizuno racers, but that video has been taken down. Oh, was it? I watched it when it first came out. He liked he admits the best and thought the pure would be the best 5K, 10K. Yeah. So I didn't know it was taken down. Yeah, I saw that thing. Maybe they're waiting for like a big launch, so where they'll have like a release for it. But I'm very excited for all their shoes. Um, Frank says the shoe mix on Sunday was pretty varied. There wasn't any dominant shoe like the Vaporfly Alpha Flies would have been a few years ago. I was thinking about this. Two people mentioned something about how cheap the Alpha Fly 3s were. Like just they didn't seem very well constructed. And maybe it's just the materials or where, I don't know, the particular batch. That was kind of my experience. I said they were overrated. Everyone gave me shit. It's a good shoe. I still think it's overrated. I said what I said. Jimmy Hilo says, midlife, can you talk about peaking too soon for a race? I think that's what happened to me this past weekend in Chicago. I can. I can very much talk about this because I peaked too soon for a race in Marine Corps last year. The heat had a lot to do with it, and then there was some other stuff going on. But I would be weary of I was listening to a Kafuzi Run Club live stream, LBNL, Later But Not Live, and someone asked, "Hey, should I do this 16 weeks of 16 miles that Joanna did?" Or something like that, right? And like you're just building mileage, that would be okay. But like any marathon plan that has 16 or 20 weeks, a lot of them are really that long. But if you look at them, you shouldn't be doing really big long runs before you get like usually they should be split and they might be more speed focused the first 8 to 10 weeks. And then the back half, they're more marathon specific as you get closer to your race if you're running the marathon. But I think that is a nuanced kind of thing, and a lot depends on how much you're running. So, like, let's say, like for example, Matt Fox, he likes a 10-week build of like marathon specific with 2 weeks taper, right? So that gives you 8 weeks of work. I think even 8 or 9 weeks, depending, and they're very big weeks, and the long runs are coming, and like it's a lot of work. But then that way you're ensuring that you're peaking about the right time. If you try to run that for too long ahead, or if you're running through the summer, then you might start to notice that you're overreaching. Your paces are coming down. You're putting in more effort to run there. You're getting sort of fried. And usually a sign is if you do like a peak marathon pace long run 3 or 4 weeks before, and or maybe even 6 weeks before, and it's like the best run of your life. And that's what happened for me. I like Marine Corps. 6 weeks out, I think I ran a 4 by 5K or 4 by 3 miles at marathon pace in the heat on the track. They were all in the 620s. The last one was like 629, 630, 631. on mile 19, 20, 21. Like on that day, I would have run a sub 250. 6 weeks from the race in the heat, like 80 something degrees. And I can look back and be like, oh, I think I was peaking, for that race. Steve Magnus has a video out that I really like too. Is sometimes people say like, well, I think maybe I over tapered and I lost some fitness coming down. And if you're still running and you're still like the idea that you're losing fitness, you probably maybe didn't lose too much fitness. You're supposed to be getting super compensations, but what happens sometimes is we lose muscle tension. If we don't do strides, hill sprints, any sort of high end type of work, then you're going to lose a little bit of that muscle tension and that spring to the step. So then you show up on race day and you feel kind of flat. That can also happen. You show up flat and you're like, what's going on? Right. Even before the race, I feel like some people, it's a popular thing to do is I'll just show up. I don't want to expel any extra energy. I'll warm up in the race. But I still run a mile or two down to the start line usually, and I do some strides because I want to fire up the body. And I want to be able to have an open stride. Now I'm going to be taking a million carbs. That's fine. I'm going to be fine. Right. So sometimes there are other things at play. I don't know because I don't know. I haven't taken a look at your training. Right. So, but I definitely think that if you periodize your training in a way that even if you're in a marathon block, those first 8 weeks out of a 16-week block, they matter, right? But I look at them more as like they're onboarding the fitness for you to be able to handle a bigger marathon load. And all of the miles that come before that matter. Everything matters. But what's in your system and what you digest is roughly about a couple of months. Of 8 weeks ish of running is what goes into race day. And so if you miss a couple weeks in the middle of training, you might have a good level of fitness, but maybe won't run to your full potential because you have those gaps. You might have to adjust your goal, but what I would stay away from is 16 to 18-mile long runs 15 weeks from your race. That's not necessary. And, it's a lot on the body. And over time, you can kind of get burnt out. Also, you can experiment with, I don't know if you followed a training plan, but some training plans they want to tackle everything. They don't know you and they say, well, let's do some speed. Let's do a little threshold. Let's do a long run. But depending on your available recovery time and, you may benefit more from a midweek workout and then a weekend workout, like a long run with some pace in it. I think Jeff Cunningham does that. Matt Fox does his marathon specific work like that. That may allow for more rest so that your body doesn't become over fatigued and you don't peak too early. Kind of manage the load a little bit better. But all right. Matt Beyer is always up on the Nike sales. He said the Vaporfly floor at Dick's Sporting Goods in the white blue colorway is 145 when added to the cart. Haters going to hate. He wants the fast or shoe, but not the fast or. Jason says, ran in the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3s for Chicago, and I don't think I'm going to use it again for the marathon. Granted, it had 90 miles on it, but I felt every bit of the carbon plate in the last 10K. The balls of my feet are still tender. Yeah, well, Fast R3 is not going to be much better for you, Jason, unfortunately. Oh, okay. Matt Beyer says, David liked the Elite. Autocorrect got me on the Mizuno comment. Yeah, that's usually autocorrect usually corrects Tim for Tom for me. And like when I say the wrong thing, it's usually like that's not a thing. So Shannon Size says, gotta go, midlife fam. Congrats to all the baddie runners. Frank says, i.e., just sign up for Stride and Shine coaching. There we go. Jimmy, I got space. Just sign up for Stride Side Coaching. We talked about this earlier. We're making room. I'm gonna get everyone's testimonials here, so we'll let them tell you how they all got faster and how everything's working. So we still got some races on the calendar before we reset. So anyway, I want to say thank you for everybody for tuning in and making time today to stop in and wish everyone else happy PR Bell. Thanks again, Stevie76, for surprising me there in Sugarland. My little guy, he said, Dad, how much longer are we going to be in Candy Crush? And I did not autocorrect him. I let that one fly. And then Stevie gave a $20 um, super thanks one time. And when Major was here, my son, and he said, "This is for Chuck E. Cheese." So we go to Chuck E. Cheese. And so we stopped at Bucky's on the way. I know I said we're gonna leave, but hold on. We stopped at Bucky's on the way out to Sugarland. There's two of them. There's it's not important. There's two of them. We stopped at one, we got food. He got to take a picture with the beaver, Bucky. And then he was really excited. On the way back, we stopped for a plushie and we got a plushie. He has a small, but he keeps calling it Chucky, Stevie. He calls it Chucky. He's like, "Where's my Chucky?" We do not autocorrect him. It's so adorable. It almost wants you makes you want to have more of them. Almost. So anyway, we'll see you next week.